Well, it's time now for a look at today's French newspapers with our press reviewer, Elena Casas. Hello, Elena.
Hello.
And I think we're going to be continuing on that theme of Nicolas Sarkozy's re-election bid. He's been in Annecy, as we've just seen. How's that been going down with the papers?
Well, it was a breathtaking entry into the campaign, according to Le Figaro, a newspaper which apparently has been attracting complaints from the UMP for being too favourable towards them. So that clearly hasn't changed their editorial line yet, as you can tell from that front page. Now, you can't deny, though, that while the Figaro might be a little bit partisan, it was a pretty punchy entry into the campaign, calling François Hollande an inveterate liar there, and insisting rather a lot, as the paper points out, on that interview he gave to The Guardian, in which he said that he was not going to be a threat to the city of any kind, whereas the previous week he told a big campaign meeting here in France of the socialist faithful that finance was his biggest enemy. So according to Sarkozy, that means there are two François Hollandes, and he's an inveterate liar, something the paper Le Figaro is fully in agreement with. They've also got an article in here headlined "The Socialists Attack Sarkozy Ever More Violently," saying that that their attacks are more strongly worded, more personal and more violent than ever before. Now, the strongest quote in there is from Laurent Fabius, who said yesterday that he didn't find Sarkozy very convincing and he didn't think he was very convinced himself, which perhaps isn't the catchiest comment you've ever heard in politics, but it's enough for Le Figaro to say that the socialists are getting more personal than ever. Of course, that talk in Annecy looks rather different from the point of view of Libération, the left-wing paper. They say they can't believe that Sarkozy is positioning himself as a populist president. He said yesterday he was going to attack elite interests, which, according to him, are the unions and political parties. He says that they say they defend the ordinary French people without actually asking those people what they want. But Libération says he can have all the populist rhetoric he wants in the world. He can talk about referendums and other measures that are meant to show that he's putting the people, ordinary people, at the heart of his policy making. But really, what French people will remember, according to them, is that this is the president who was known as the president of the rich, who passed tax measures that most benefited the rich, who had a dinner in France's, one of Paris's most expensive restaurants on the night of the last election, and who took Carla Bruni on luxury holidays all over the world. That's what they're going to retain, rather than the populist policy making.
And there has been some populist policy making recently. Last week, plans announced for a referendum on unemployment benefit rights. But there's been criticism of his populism as well.
Well, La Croix is having a general look at that idea of referendums, if they're actually a good thing or not for politicians. So they've got referendums, yes or no, as a headline, and this front page pretty much points out the danger that they hold for politicians. These posters saying no date from the 2005 referendum on the European Constitution, which of course was supported by all the main political parties here in France, and they lost, which was embarrassing for all of them. On the inside, they look back at previous referendums called by French presidents, saying that, for example, General de Gaulle called one in 1969 over a constitutional reform issue and then had to resign when he lost. And the issue that Sarkozy wants to call one over, this idea of cutting unemployment benefits if the unemployed refuse to take the first job that they're offered, might actually be equally legally complicated. So therefore he might confuse the voters so much there's a high chance of him losing it.
OK, now we're going to move on to Le Monde, because they're covering Marine Le Pen, saying that she might not perhaps get through to the second round or get the number of signatures she needs.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about this being as much as a four-horse election with François Hollande, Nicolas Sarkozy, the centrist François Bayrou and Marine Le Pen. But on this front page, they say that actually her votes are going down. The hypothesis of her getting through to the second round is getting further and further away every day. They've got a poll on the inside which says that her voter percentage in the last month has gone down from 18% to 16%, and Sarkozy's has gone up from 23 to 25. So it seems fairly obvious, according to them, that a kind of moderate right-wing voter is switching sides from Le Pen, moving towards Sarkozy. And that other centrist candidate, François Bayrou, that I mentioned there, is on the front page of Le Parisien, answering questions from their readers. He talks on the inside about something called Sarko-Hollandization, which, according to him, is he's trying to stick them both together and saying they both have the same financial policy, and he's the only one who's a true outsider.
OK, thanks very much indeed, Elena, for that look at today's French newspapers.